welcome. This is our Riverside Angel Summit, how founders should design and manage their fundraising strategy. My name is Scott Brovsky. I've got my partner, Martin Kleckner here, who partner in crime, I should say, who is the co-host and co-creator of this event that we're doing. The idea is that we're trying to get more angel investors writing checks in our region, which is inland Southern California and Riverside proper. So that's what we're doing. We have an event that many of you already know because you've applied, that is going to be a series of cut downs from all the startups that have applied now to 24 to 12 to 6 finalists that will pitch on November 4th for up to 150K in investment dollars from a what's called a special purpose vehicle we started, which is called Citrus Seeds. So first, I want to just kick off, or actually, Martin, do you want to do just a quick hello and intro about the other event we have going on, just so everyone knows?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, by the way, someone had asked how Scott to access the recording. So I sent them that we could send them a link, but you might have the answer right now.
Yeah. Oh, well, we don't have the recordings up yet, but we will. We need to put them on YouTube. We're going to be doing that. We just don't have them up now, but we will. So everyone who's applied for Riverside Angel Summit as a startup will get the link, and everyone that attended this will get the link as well. So, but we won't have it up for maybe a couple of days because we've got a lot of stuff going on. As Martin's about to tell you, we've got another conference that Martin and our team are also managing. So Martin, take it away. We'll talk about that for a minute, and then we'll get back to the to this presentation.
Sure. Again, welcome everybody to the Riverside Angel Summit, but embedded within the RAS is our 3rd annual SBIR STTR conference 2021. We have this scheduled to begin with a grant writers workshop this Friday. It's a 3.5-hour workshop from 9 o'clock until 12:30. For those of you who have never written a grant before, have no experience, this is a terrific opportunity for you to join us and learn all the fundamentals and essentials of writing a winning and appropriate grant proposal. So I would encourage you all to join us then. That's the 24th, this Friday. Beginning on Monday, we have a very rigorous and full week, Monday the 27th through Friday, October the 1st. We have 20 federal agencies who have joined us and will be giving brief presentations and engaging with you for an hour each throughout the week. But also on top of that, for those of you who would like to make reservations, if you haven't done it already, to speak one-on-one with a program agency officer. And so if you have a particular project in mind and innovation that you'd like to talk about to see whether or not you might be a strategic fit for them, please get on our website. And yes, I'll type in the address to our website for those of you who are not familiar, in order for you to make an appointment with a program officer.
Cool.
Again, we begin on Monday and it goes all the way through Friday at noon. The agency meetings are from 9 o'clock until 2 o'clock, and then 2 o'clock we have special topic symposia that will be hopefully of interest to you as well and value, including how to write a commercialization plan, how to develop your market, how to prepare and manage and design a research project, and also how to go about forming strategic alliances with corporations and universities and so forth. And then we also have a special topic seminar on SCIE and clean energy technology, as well, with Doug Kohlmeyer. So it's going to be It's going to be a very, very, very busy week, and I would encourage you to join us. And I'll put on the link as Scott begins his talk.
Great. Thanks, Martin. All right, cool. So we're going to talk about how you should design and manage your fundraising strategy here, and let's get it kicked off. So first of all, I'm going to talk a little bit about what our program, which is called EPIC Small Business Development Center at UC Riverside, what we do. If I can get my cursor to, if I can get my thing to advance here. There we go. So the basic idea here is that we work with startups that are coming out of the lab, and we also work with startups in the community. Now, the community has grown. We do focus on what's called the Inland Empire, or I like to call it Inland SoCal. But we also now are helping, because of our growing reputation for helping startups, we're actually now getting referrals from other universities, not just in California, but also in the Southwest, as well as other startups and founders. So the idea here is that we come in typically in the validation stage. We help get, we have a team of 15 mentors, I should say, and we help you get non-dilutive grant funding if you're a deep tech startup or a startup that could benefit from what Martin just talked about, which is SBIR, STTR funding from the federal government. The startups that aren't ready for that, we typically go right into an angel raising mode. And that's something we're going to talk a lot about today. Obviously, we're going to talk about how to raise angel and seed capital. For those of you that missed the pitch deck 101 yesterday with angel investor Bill Waldo, you might want to check that out. Again, we will have those recordings on YouTube. We don't yet, but we will. So we'll get you those. But anyway, so our main focus is in this box here. We also now have started to we have some more mature companies. We'll go through a couple examples here that are now raising their Series A. And even though we're not focused on helping to raise Series A, we've been asked by the founders to help them. So we actually are helping raise a few Series A rounds as well right now. But our main focus is that seed round. So we'll get to that now. This is the amount of capital we've helped raise over the last few years. Actually, this 2021 slide is out of date. It's actually more like 20 million. I need to update this, but you can get the sense that the pipeline that we're helping to build here in the region is working. And we have more startups than ever that are raising what we call equity capital. And we'll talk more about that in a second. This is an example of one startup that's from Southern California that our team helped. And how do we help? Well, we made a number of investor introductions, and they were able to close a $1.4 million angel round from angel investors. And we put about 150, now more like 200 mentoring hours into just this startup. So we do what's called a heavy lift with our program in terms of helping founders. It's not, you don't just come and spend an hour or two or three reviewing a pitch deck and then send on your way. We actually help the founders raise capital. So that's a big differentiator from our program versus others in the region. Another one is, this is one that we brought out of the lab. This is promising technology that was in the lab. We found an amazing serial entrepreneur, Tom Stone, who came in as CEO. And again, we help them raise more than this, but this is just an example of the seed B round we helped them raise, and made a number of investor introductions. And it took about 8 months. So that's something we'll come back to in this presentation. It typically will take longer than you think it is going to as a founder to raise capital. So just keep that in mind. And also, as I said earlier, for that a bunch of you just joined. So please, this is meant to be interactive. So either put a question if you have one in the chat, or raise your hand and we'll, you should be able to ask the question. So either write it or ask it, but this is meant to be a working session, not just a talking head thing of me telling you what's going on. So those are a few examples. So the biggest question we all have to ask ourselves is this. And so, is my startup ready to raise equity capital? Now, I want to make clear, we're not talking about friends and family. So everything that we talk about in our program and as mentors, when I tell a founder, I don't think they're ready to raise capital, I am not talking about friends and family, just to make that clear. We don't get involved in friends and family rounds. That's your business. That's your connections. But if you're coming to us asking for introductions or help with angel or VCs, then the number one question we have to figure out is your startup ready to raise equity capital? Now, we're actively at any one time, we're mentoring about 150 startups. And just so you know, we are officially helping them raise, 4 of them raise seed capital right now, and a couple others Series A. But in general, we focus on seed capital. So that gives you a sense for the percentage of founders that are ready to raise capital. I can tell you that I've talked to every single one of those, and almost every single one of those founders or founding teams thinks they're ready to raise capital and they're not. So let's talk a little bit about why that is. So to riff off of our good friend Socrates, and I don't know, I think this is his actual a quote from him, but maybe it's just some internet thing, I don't know. But so to know thyself is the beginning of wisdom, and I'm going to change this to know thy startup is the beginning of wisdom. So basically, how do you know your startup? Well, you got to be honest with yourself. You've got to look at what you actually have going on. I talk to literally 8 to 10 startups every single week who have an idea, who come to us and say, we need to raise X amount of money to build Y. Not going to happen. Okay. That's what friends and family, we have a whole other, 2 hours we could spend on alternative ways to bring in capital to help you get to your, what's called your MVP, your minimal viable product. But this is not that session. We actually did have an alternative capital session earlier in the week, actually last week. So again, you can grab that link and check it out. But this is all about equity capital. So we're talking about professional angels and VCs. So let's talk about a couple of things that you may want to think about based on what vertical and what kind of startup you are doing. So if you are any of these types of startups, and this is just obviously not an exhaustive list. I know we have startups from all kinds of verticals that have applied for Riverside Angel Summit, but these are just a few examples. And also, yes, I know that this is not, I'll always have a founder say, well, I talked to this angel and she said, well, and you're wrong. And it's like, okay, well, this is a kind of a bringing together of hundreds of investors that I've worked with over the years to help not just my own startups raise capital, but also our clients we mentor, as we just talked about, raise capital. So these are a few of the things you want to look at if you're thinking about angel or seed funding. And if you want to ask any questions about your specific startup or vertical, if I know the answer, I'll tell you. Obviously, I don't know every single vertical on the planet and what investors are looking for, but I know a lot of them. So let's say, for example, you're a B2B SaaS startup and you're going out to raise angel or seed capital, and you come to us and you say, hey, we've got this great idea for a B2B SaaS startup, and we just started building the product. Can you help me raise 500K or $1 million? The answer is no, not going to happen. So you need to put everything you have into getting to these metrics before you can go out and credibly pitch for equity capital in these verticals. Now, if you are I see we have some, let me just look at the list here. I see we've got some, we've got a few what we call deep tech startups here that are participating today. So if you're a deep tech startup, it's similar, but a little different. So you may not have to have what's called traction in things like daily active users, or you may not have revenue for 5 or 6 or 10 years if you're a pharma or another type of startup, but you do still have to have milestones, right? So it then becomes more about the IP. There's something called your TRL, which of course, Martin could talk a lot about because he's an expert in helping companies move from TRL levels. But like, for example, I was just talking
which stands for technology readiness level, by the way. Everybody.
Yeah, thanks, Martin. So, for example, I was talking to an investor from Texas this week. They said that they only want to hear from startups that are a TRL level 5 or above. Obviously, if you're a consumer app company, you don't need to worry about that. But for those of you that are building deep tech companies, then I would not be able to introduce you to that investor if you wanted a TRL 5 or higher. So just some examples here of whether or not your startup is ready to raise equity capital. And if you don't know, you should ask us. And obviously you don't have to take our word for it. You can go out and try to raise capital. Kevin just asked what TRL is. And Martin, you want to say it one more time?
Technology readiness level. And also, Scott, there was a question with regard to, and you did define it once, but what is a DAU and what is an MAU?
Oh, okay. Oh yeah. People are going Q&A. Okay. Got it. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. We're trying to, I think for this one, let's not do Q&A. Let's throw the questions in the chat, just because I've got so many windows open here on the desktop. It's easier for Martin and I to see. Let's do chat for future questions. And then also, like I said, you can raise your hand and ask the question without, if you don't feel like typing it. unless you're too shy to be have your voice recorded, in which case you probably shouldn't be the founder of a tech startup. But in any case, a DAU is daily active user, and MRR is basically your monthly recurring revenue. MOM is month over month growth. So as an example, going back to that B2B SaaS startup, most angel investors and seed funders are going to want to see somewhere around 10,000 to 50,000 monthly recurring revenue. And not just that, but also somewhere in the 10 to 15% growth month over month growth rate, or you double your revenue every 6 months. So that's kind of that's the game you're playing, and that's who you're going up against in terms of other startups if you're trying to raise equity capital. Now, again, we're not saying the only way to scale and grow an amazing company is through raising capital. Obviously, there's organic growth. Obviously, there's bootstrapping. But this is obviously as you saw from the title, the point of this talk is how to raise capital. So that's what we're doing. So any other questions on this before we go to the next slide in terms of
what MAU was as well, Scott? I might have missed that.
That's monthly active user.
Okay, thanks.
So yeah, so okay, so how does this change for companies in markets with slow sales cycle where MOM does not apply? Well, then we're going to get to some examples of that later, but then you'll have other traction points. So for example, if you're an ag tech startup or a clean tech startup, and you have a basically your MVP going, but you aren't close to being ready for a final product because you still need to field test, then an example of traction could be, we've got X big customer in clean tech, name any big customer name, and they're testing 10 of our units in the field right now. So for an angel investor in clean tech, that could be considered a great traction point. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's basically it. And then slow sales cycle. If you're a SaaS company, software as a service company, or a HaaS company, hardware as a service company, and I see we have a few SaaS, HaaS, basically every kind of ass, I guess, we've got here on the call. But anyway, yeah, it's still really, if you're going after B2B sales, then that 10K number is still pretty accurate. So if you're a company that has a hardware device and a software component, and you still need to get to about 10K a month in MRR with some growth, month over month growth, before you're going to get interest from most angel and what are called seed stage VCs or venture capitalists. So any other questions before we move on? Okay, so the next slide, if I can get back to this is another thing that I get a lot of pushback from founders that we mentor from. Okay, hold on. Got another question. Bio device hardware only need less than 500K. Where do we fit? Are you saying you have 500K in revenue right now? Is that per year, I assume? Need. Yeah, we could have oh wait, Martin, are you raising your hand, or you want to put Martin's hands up? I don't know if he wants to say something.
Is it okay? No, yeah. I didn't realize. Okay. I was just reading that.
That's okay. Just checking. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, so again, we would spend time with you if you are one of our clients that we're helping raise capital for. Obviously, we'd spend more than the hour plus we're spending here going through a fundraising strategy. But if you're a med device or a med tech company, then yes, we would have specific. There'd be specific milestones that the investors would want to see, and we can spend time going over your specific case at a later date. But in general, many seed stage VCs want to see some type of traction if you're a med device or med tech or biotech company. And I understand that may not be customer sales, because you may be on an FDA approval pathway or an EPA approval pathway. So I get it that you may not have actual customer sales, but you need to have other stuff. And we can definitely get into that.
Just wanted to confirm also, Scott, for Babak and everybody that, with regard to your question about 500,000, everything is case by case. Scott is giving you an overview. industry-wise and so forth, but on a case-by-case, innovation-by-innovation basis, there may be different capital needs. So $500,000 may be sufficient for one organization, 250 may be okay, or $1 million for another. It really is case-by-case.
Yeah, and so just to be clear, this is a full-time job, fundraising, for someone on the team. Now, you know, I'm not saying it has to be the CEO. It should be, but it doesn't have to be, but it really should be. You know, we can talk more about why that is, but it really is a full-time job to raise capital. Now, again, I'm not talking about raising a $50,000 or $100,000 friends and family round. That is not a full-time job. And I'm not, again, we're only talking about raising professional capital from professional angel investors and seed stage VCs. It is a full-time job to do it right. I think as we go through this, for those, because many founders, when they, especially first-time founders who haven't done this, they don't believe it, but it's true. You pretty much are only going to be fundraising, which is why it's extremely hard, if not impossible, for a solo founder to raise venture capital. It almost never happens. And yes, I know that every time I say that in a webinar or in a workshop, someone always has an example. So that is true. But you got to have other co-founders 100%. So if you don't have your technical co-founder, or if you're a technical founder with no quote unquote sales and biz dev person, please go find one as soon as you possibly can if you're going to try to raise professional capital. And the main reason is because, first of all, the investors want to see more than one person on the team. Secondly, if you're spending, you know, all your time, or 90 or 80% of your time raising capital for 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, 8 months, who else is building the company and running the company? So you got to have other people on your team who can take over while you are raising the capital. Question from Kevin: do the investors you're referring to are accredited investors? How does this change from non-accredited? Okay, yeah, as I said earlier, yes, this talk is for accredited investors only. This is not for friends and family. This talk is not about raising money for friends and family. So we don't, as I said earlier, we don't mentor you or help you raise friends and family. That is not, that is between you and your friends and family. We don't want to get involved in those dynamics. This is all about professional investors. And yes, all angels that you'd raise money from, or all VCs are accredited investors. Now, there is an exception to this. And once again, I'll refer you to our alternative fundraising workshop we had last week, where we have what's called equity crowdfunding, which you can raise money from non-accredited investors, but you have to do it on a platform that allows for that. You, as the entrepreneur, can't just go out and take checks from anybody. So I would suggest you go back and watch that workshop, because again, this workshop is all about raising money from angels and VCs. So good question. So next slide is, okay, so you have no angel or VC contacts. What do you do? So what we're going to talk about today is how to build out your fundraising strategy and your pipeline. So the most important thing that you can do as a founder who is ready to raise venture capital or angel, I'm just going to probably be saying VC a lot because, you know, for me, it's all the same. You know, we can quibble a little bit about the different ways to raise capital. And again, I'll refer you to an upcoming workshop we're going to have on different ways to raise capital in terms of convertible notes versus post money safes versus priced rounds and all that. I mean, if people are confused about that, we can get into a little bit today, but the spirit of this is really to not, this webinar, this workshop is really meant for people who have already gotten all that figured out. And I understand there are folks who have applied to be part of Riverside Angel Summit that aren't ready and aren't at this stage. So I would recommend you listen anyway, so you know what to do when you get there. And you may be 6 months away from this stage. You may be 3 days away from this stage of ready to raise VC. You may be 2 years or 4 years away. I don't know. It's case by case, as Martin said, but you should know this information anyway, because it's going to help you for the future know what you need to do. Another question just came in from Thomas. Is the crowdfunding presentation on the web yet? I don't believe so, Martin. We'll have to check on that. a member of our team is getting that up on YouTube, our YouTube channel. I haven't checked, honestly. I don't think it's up. Is it?
It is not.
Okay.
But we expect to have it before the end of the week.
But it will be, and I or Martin, we can try to find our OTP YouTube channel and put it in the chat. But just email one of us, and we'll get it to you. But yeah, definitely check that one out. That was a good workshop. But anyway, once again, we're focusing on the idea here is, hey, we already know that we're raising $1.4 million on a post money safe, example number one. Or, hey, we're raising $500,000 from angel investors on a convertible note, example number two. Or we're doing a priced round of $2 million from accredited investors, and we're going to do what's called a syndicated round. And we're going to have a lead investor who's going to put in $1 million. And then we're going to have, let's call it 10 other investors who are writing 100K checks. That's also part of the strategy of how you build out your basically your investment strategy, right? You figure out all these things, but since we have this training coming up and other workshops coming up in the coming weeks, I don't want to get too in the weeds on, like I said, the difference between convertible notes, post money safes, and priced rounds. We can do that at a later time, or after we get through this kind of first part, we can go into the weeds on that a little bit later. But let's first talk about how to get the contacts, because that's kind of important, right? If you don't know any investors, then you're not going to be pitching any investors, right? So what you want to do, and I don't know how many of you on this call or this workshop have actually started building your investor pipeline yet, or it's also called an investor funnel. You can call it whatever you want. I'll probably be calling it pipeline. The simplest way to do it is just open up Excel or Google Docs or whatever and create it. But there's also templates, and we'll go through into some of those other options in a second. But let's just talk a little bit about what you want to build and what information you want to track. And then we'll go to some examples of some vendors that you could pay to have maybe a little bit better online experience of your fundraising. But again, we want to start from free to it costs a little bit of money to do. So this is the free version, which is creating a spreadsheet. So I don't know how many of you actually have done this yet, but if you haven't done it and you're raising capital, you should do this before you do anything else after this workshop. These are the things that you want to put in your spreadsheet. And I was gonna, the problem is I wanted to show you some actual examples, but everyone we mentor, all the startups that we do this with, we're under NDA with, and I don't want, obviously it's not fair for me to share somebody's investor funnel or spreadsheet just because it's proprietary information. So you're just gonna have to build your own. And these are some of the things. So this, I think, probably makes sense. If it doesn't, then obviously we can come back and talk about this more. But if there are any questions on this, let's talk about them now before we go to the next slide, because then we're going to talk about some different tools to build this information. But these are the main things you're looking at. So does this make sense to everybody?
I just wanted to interject, Scott, if I could, that if anybody does indeed have a question on this, they can certainly reach out to us afterwards, and we can certainly walk them through this. So,
okay, cool.
To worry about.
Yeah. Well, and this was meant to be an interactive workshop. So if no one's answering questions, I guess this could be a really short workshop. But in any case, because my slide deck's like I don't even know. I didn't count the slides, but it's short because the idea is that we talk about this. Oh, I got a question from Kevin. All right. Do you want to, I guess you're wanting to talk. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, yeah, Kevin.
All right. Perfect. Yes, I do have some questions on this, on the VC contacts list that you have on here. Can you explain some of the terms here? I'm not familiar with some of these terms like ranking or trench or get size. If you can explain those a little bit. I don't know if you can do that on this presentation or not.
Yeah, great question. So these are all things that we go over in more detail, but basically the idea is that the ranking is your ranking. So, I think, let's go through a couple more slides. There may be a a couple of examples I can find online to kind of show you that are not specific to any of our clients. So I wouldn't be violating any kind of NDA. So let me look at that in just a second. But yeah, so basically the idea is the ranking is your ranking. So for example, like let's say you had a spreadsheet with 20 investors on it that you had found, right? You would want to rank them on your own ranking system. And so that would be your priority on how much time you're putting into each one to try to get the meeting, right? The tranche, that's whether that's basically, if they do it, so some investors will only write checks in tranches, which basically means that, like, let's say you're doing $1 million round, and let's say you have one investor come in and they may say, okay, we're only gonna write you a $250K check until you hit milestone 1. Then when you hit milestone 2, we're gonna unlock 250K more. When you hit milestone, et cetera, et cetera. So some investors do that, some don't. And so you may want to note that in your, because, if you had 2 what are called term sheets from 2 different VCs, and one of them is going to tranche you, is going to basically give you, trickle out the capital, and then the other isn't, then again, there are a lot of other factors to think about, but you may say, hey, I don't want to deal with that. I just want to get the $1 million in the bank and move on and focus on building the product or getting customers or whatever stage you're in. And then,
can I interject if that's okay, Scott? I apologize for cutting you off all the time, but Kevin, with a project that you are working on, you might want to rank a VC in terms of chances for success. For example, get on their website, find out what their interests are, find out what investments they have made to date in areas that are similar to the innovation that you're creating. Identify who your contacts are, who may have relationships with them, and identify also the network and so forth. So it's one way of ranking them could be in terms of chances for success or prospects for them to take an interest in your venture. So that's something that we have done with several clients in the past. So as Scott has indicated, there are a myriad of ways to do ranking, but one of them could be possibilities or chances for them to take an interest in your venture.
Yeah, and so we're going to get into this in more detail in a second, but the two most important things on this list, one is, does the investor even invest in what you're doing? I can't tell you how many investors that I talk to on a weekly basis who say, and I don't do this because we vet as I said, with, only helping, 4 raise capital right now out of 150 we're working with. Obviously we heavily vet the startups that before we make any introductions, but a lot of times, especially first-time founders, they'll spend all this time trying to connect to an investor just because they heard they're a great investor or they're in their city or whatever. And the investor doesn't even invest in their business type or vertical or whatever. Like say you're a med device company, or say you're a biotech company. Well, maybe the investor only invests in health tech and consumer-driven med tech apps and no hardware. Well, if you spend a lot of time networking to try to get a meeting with that investor, that's just a waste of your time. And the investor is not going to respond because they don't invest. So your homework, the whole point of this is that, again, back to the slide of why it's a full-time job to raise capital, is because of all this stuff on this list. It takes a long time to get this stuff figured out. The second most important thing on here, which we're going to get to in more detail in a second, is who can help you get the meeting. That's number 13. And this is just an example. This is from Techstars. There's literally dozens of other examples online about what you should or shouldn't include in your spreadsheet. And it really needs to be what works for you. I've also mentored in startups who have like 4 of these on it and they successfully raise. So I'm not saying you have to build it with all of these 15, pieces on your spreadsheet, but, or columns on your spreadsheet. But anyway, it's just a best practice idea.
I take it that, sorry, Scott, to interrupt you there. I just had a quick question. So I take it when you say, do they invest in your space? You're talking about section 7 right there, the domain is the area that which they invest in. Is that correct? Is that what I'm understanding from section 7, domain? That's
also correct, but it also could mean just the domain, their website address. So, but you're right. I'm going to show you some other examples. So let's not get too hung up on this specific list, because I'm going to show you some other examples of other tools that have different things on here, but it's all the same basic information. But yes, you're right. Domain is exactly right. And John asks, can you clarify meaning of inbound versus outbound interest? So inbound versus outbound interest basically means, did they contact you? Or did you contact them, is basically what it means. So sometimes when, like, we have several startups we're mentoring that we've helped get press articles for. And so they'll start then to get, or maybe they are the winners of Riverside Angel Summit on November 4th. Check your local listings. No, but anyway, maybe they're the winners of, and so then you're going to start getting inbound from investors. And so that's just a way to track whether you went to them or they came to you, because someone who comes to you, maybe we're spending more time with someone who comes to you versus someone say you have to send 20 emails to get one email response, versus there's a VC who's literally calling you saying, when can we get a meeting? Well, you got to probably take that easier meeting. Let's see. Cold calls never works. How do we get item 13? Well, glad you asked. We're about to talk about that right now. So the next slide.
Also, Scott, if I can
Yep.
cut in again, Kieran had a question on Q&A.
Oh, yeah. Hey, can we stop putting stuff in Q&A, guys? And type of interest. Let me go back. Whoops. Oh no, now we're out of control here. Type of
I can
interest.
certainly address it as well, by the way.
Oh, we just talked about inbound, outbound. Yeah. Okay.
No, type of interest. Kieran was asking about what is type of interest?
Okay. If we're talking about number 11, which is inbound, outbound, we just talked about inbound, outbound.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Kieran,
still
can you
good.
confirm, is that what you were asking? I thought you were asking about something else in terms of ranking of investors and so forth, or identifying investors. I guess he's golden. Okay.
He said, yeah, I just talked about it. Okay, cool.
Got it. Okay.
So now we're going to try an experiment of, well, actually, before I try to go to the live internets, because of course, we could have a complete fail here with our Zoom technology, but I'll just show you a couple of static shots. But here are a few links you might want to check out. Techstars, who's one of our friends and partners. They're one of the top accelerators in the world, along with Y Combinator and some others. And they're a great partner of ours in our programs at UC Riverside. But anyway, they've got a great toolkit on this, which you can take a look at. I'll show you an example from Airtable in just a second. They've also got a free template you can use. And then there's a tool called Founder Suite we'll talk about for just a second as well. So again, these are just like tools to help you with your pipeline. This is not, again, a spreadsheet is fine, but some startups want, it to be a few more bells and whistles. So then they do something like one of these, like Airtable or Founder Suite. So let me just show you a couple examples, just so you get a sense of what it looks like visually. So this is the Techstars example. As you can see, they've got a few of the things we just talked about in there. And another big thing to keep in mind, which I forgot to mention, is the typical check size. So let's say you're doing a $2 million seed round. And again, we're going to cover this in more depth when we talk about what are called cap tables or capitalization tables. But in general, the fewer investors you have in your cap table, the better. So let's just say that you're raising a $2 million round. And let's say that you had, this whole list was, whoops, a twitchy mouse here. Let's just say that this whole list was Angel Angelinos, and they were all, and let's say all their check sizes were 50 to 100K. Well, you haven't done that great job building out your investor pipeline, because if you're going to be bringing in $2 million, you probably don't want 20 or 30 investors on your capitalization or cap table. Now, if that's all you can do to raise the money, then okay, that's a decision you and the founders have to make. But in general, you don't want that many investors in your capitalization or cap table, because as you go into other rounds, the upcoming investors will not be thrilled with that, and your deal will look weaker if you have a ton of people on your capitalization or cap table. So anyway, this is just an example from Techstars. That's a spreadsheet example that you could just build out yourself with Excel or Google. Any questions on this before we go to the next one? Okay. This is one that's, we'll try to go look at it live on the web in a second. But again, since it may not work, I just want to show you guys this one. This is from Airtable. Again, same kind of idea, but for those of you who don't know what Airtable is, it's kind of like a combination of a CRM and a spreadsheet and a database. So it's a little bit, in theory, some people love it way more than a spreadsheet. But again, decide whether you do or don't want to do this. If you do use Airtable, they've got a free investor pipeline tool there, which was back here in this link. And then the last one is Founder Suite. And again, this isn't the only one, and we're not recommending anything one over the other. We're just showing you the options. So basically, the idea is that this would be similar to a CRM that you would use, like, I don't know, HubSpot, Salesforce, whatever your favorite CRM tool is. But the idea here is that it's in a web interface. It's a little bit cleaner and prettier than a spreadsheet. It's maybe a little bit easier to track, but you got to pay. And again, I haven't checked their pricing recently, but I'm just showing it to you as an option of something you may want to check out. So let me just see what the next slide is. Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, this is something we're gonna spend some time on, and we'll try to go to the web to do a live demo of what to do. But before we do that, let me just go through a few slides, and then we'll go out to the web. So this is the biggest question that everyone has, is how do I get connected to the investors? So what you're going to do is you're going to work with these tools. And I'm sure all of you, or most of you at least, are familiar with Crunchbase. I'm sure all of you are familiar with LinkedIn if you're building a tech startup. One you may not be familiar with is SignalFX, and some of you may not have heard of AngelList. But the idea here is that you're going to go out to these tools, and we can do that in a second if you want to do some examples. And you're going to figure out, based on your spreadsheet or your pipeline spreadsheet, who in your network has the best connectivity to the investor you want to try to meet. And so we'll run through some examples of that in a second, but I just want to make sure everyone understands these tools and has used these tools. If you haven't, obviously sign up for an account. There's a free tier for Crunchbase. SignalFX is free. AngelList is free. LinkedIn is free, but of course, then you also have other paid options on all these tools if you want more functionality. But these are the best ways to get the information. There's another great tool, which is called PitchBook, which is what I use, but it is very expensive and most startups can't afford it. And I wouldn't recommend spending the money on PitchBook if you're raising an angel round or a seed round. Maybe when you get to your Series A or B, and if you need that extra help and extra information, you may go there. But in any case, so let me just this is an example of what SignalFX looks like. So the idea here is just like similar to LinkedIn, except this is all about angels, venture capitalists, and founders. So you go create a profile. Again, I think this platform typically works better for B2B SaaS startups and other, I don't know, they do have deep tech investors on here, so you can try a profile. I don't know how great it is for deep tech startups, although I don't want to say that because there are some really good deep tech investors on this platform. But in general, you as the founder or founding team, of course, need to evaluate what's worth your time and what isn't. And you may say, hey, this tool looks cool, but I don't think it's worth our time. So these are just examples of things that may help you. We're not saying that you have to use any of these tools, obviously. Question from Kieran. How do you define deep tech? Okay. Well, deep tech is basically, so with our team at UC Riverside and this program, Epic Small Business Development Center, or SBDC, we focus in basically 4 key verticals that are deep tech. One is ag tech. The other is clean tech, clean energy. Another is life science and biotech. And then the other is commerce and logistics. And so typically, if you are inventing a new drug, or you have a new med device that's going to go through FDA approval, or you have some type of hardware, software solution for agriculture, Those are considered deep tech. Space tech is another vertical. We have a couple of space tech startups we mentor, although it's not as big a vertical here as it is on the coast, obviously. But in any case, that's how deep tech is defined. So, you know, and again, you could be a deep tech startup that's, let's say you're an ag tech startup, so you're considered a deep tech startup, and you have a hardware software solution for agriculture, but your revenue model is business to business hardware as a service. So you can combine all these terms. It's just, you know, they're just shorthand, so we can kind of, you know, I guess my point is, like, you know, the investors and the investment strategy for a dog walking app is a lot different than the investment strategy and this pipeline building you're going to do if you're a med device company, for example. So just, that's why we use the different terms. Hopefully that answered your question. So before we get to this cold or warm email intro, let's go back here, and I'm going to try to share my web browser and see if this works. So hold on just a second, and let me get this going. Think of your questions if you have any while I'm doing this. And let me see if I can get this working. Hold on one second. So let's take an example of, let's do a real world example. So hopefully everyone can see that. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually go through and look for some leads. So I don't know if any of you, again, this was meant to be interactive, so I don't know if any of you want to volunteer with your startup. If you do, raise your hand or whatever, and tell us what vertical you're in or what business you're in, and we can do an example, or I can just make up one and do it. So either way. And I've now lost my chat window because I've got this shared screen, so I'm not going to see, oh, there's the chat. Let's see. We got I'm
watching it.
Okay, we got med tech. Oh wait, hold on one sec. Oh, ticket size. Yeah. You know, I'm actually not sure what they're talking about there. Ticket size can mean different things, but typically it's the size check that the investor is going to write is typically what it means. But it could mean other things too, I guess. I'm not really sure about that one, actually. I don't actually have that on any of my spreadsheets that I use. I just have check size. So maybe that's easier than ticket size.
One of the definitions is in size of the investment. So it's the same thing as you called check, also investment.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do a med. Okay. So we got a med tech and a streaming and entertainment advertising and life science. All right. We got a lot of them now. Okay. So let's do a med device company that is, I don't know. How should we do it? Med device. Let's do a med device company that, I'm just trying to think of a good one. Well, what's your med device or your med tech? You can unmute yourself. Or let's see, maybe I have to allow to talk. Let's try that. See if you can you unmute and talk now?
Mine is an orthopedic device.
Orthopedic device. Okay. Yeah. So let's say that, let's say you've been working on let's say you have your spreadsheet and you started to build it out. Here's an example. So let's say this is mine, so I can show this. I'm not giving up any. But let's say that you've built. Let's say you built you're starting to build your spreadsheet, and let's say that you just read an article, and you say, "Wow, I didn't realize that Upfront Ventures was the biggest VC in Southern California. We should probably talk to them, right?" So you go to Crunchbase or some other similar tool, you type in Upfront Ventures, and I guess we want to actually get there we go. So Upfront Ventures, and then you're going to go and you're going to have to do your own deep dive and due diligence on every investor that's on your list, right? And what you're trying to do here is you're trying to figure out which of the partners do your vertical, if any, right? And so between Crunchbase, going to the actual website, which we should be able to do, let's see, where is it? There it is. Going to Upfront Ventures is another way to do it. So between Crunchbase, Upfront, and LinkedIn, you're going to want to figure out what's going on here. So basically you're going to say, okay, do they invest in my vertical? Well, or the other one is, do they invest at my stage? Because just because you're a med device investor doesn't mean they're going to invest in you, because you may be too early for them. So stage is very important as well. And so again, that's why it takes a lot of time to figure all this out. But this is what you have to do for every investor. So then you're going to go to Upfront and you're going to say, let's see, portfolio, about, thoughts. Okay, well, portfolio is one way to do it. You can go to the portfolio and you can start seeing like what kind of stuff they invested in. You're kind of maybe going, this doesn't look so promising. Not a lot of med device, med tech on here, but you happen to know that one of your mentors, whose name is me, Scott, actually, I happen to know that Upfront is doing some med tech and biotech investing. So what you would have to do if you didn't know me is figure that out by going through the portfolio, going to the about, understanding what their investment, what's called their investment thesis is. They invest in LA, but also they invest all across the world. There's a summit, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Yeah, this isn't really too helpful because it's not really, it's a lot of marketing speak really, but what we really want to figure out is who on the team does med tech, med device, biotech investing. And by that, you'd have to click here to the investment team. And again, you don't have to use their website. You can also probably get this information on LinkedIn or Upfront. But let's just say that we're going through and we read each of the bios of all the partners, and Upfront they're friends of ours. We send deal flow to them. They're a great group. But let's just say that we're cruising through and we go, oh, Kevin, what is he into? Oh, wait a second. What is this? Healthcare and life sciences. So that basically means that this could be a good person to target for your investment, right? Because according to the website anyway, and then you could also go back and double check on Crunchbase, but according to this website, one of the venture partners is trying to solve big problems in healthcare and life sciences, right? So then what you do is you go to figure out, okay, I go back to my spreadsheet with all of my investors that I want to target on here, and I got to figure out who is most connected to Kevin, right? And so what I would recommend is going to LinkedIn and looking in your network and seeing, okay, well, I mean, in this case, I have a direct connection to him, which is kind of, I mean, but let's just say that this was a secondary connection instead of a first. I should have figured out a better example where I'm not connected to them. But anyway, let's just keep this example going because we're already in the middle of it. So let's say there's a secondary connection. I think you all know how to use LinkedIn, and you would basically click on that and it would show you. So basically 95 of my mutual connections are connected to Kevin. So you click on this and you basically go through this list and you say, oh, I have a pretty good relationship with Alfred, who's CEO at this other startup. Maybe I can see if Alfred would introduce me or whatever. And so what you do is you go through your list of people that are connected to Kevin, and you then figure out who is the strongest connection. And then you'll send an email to them, which we'll get to in just a second. But that's basically the process. And if they won't introduce you, then you go to your next connection. And if that connection won't introduce you, you go to your next. If none of your connections will introduce you to Kevin, then you would want to decide, do I want to send a cold email, or do I want to go to an event or a summit or something and try to meet Kevin? Or do I want to wait until I get a warm introduction? That's your call as a founder. Obviously, I would be doing a combination of warm intros and cold emails, because the capital is not going to raise itself, of course, as we all know, right? Okay, hold on a sec. We've got a question here, or a comment. Yeah, Kevin makes a good comment. I've seen this pretty often where their profile and summary do not give a lot of useful information. That's very true. And that's why you typically want to work with all these different tools to basically build. You're basically a detective. You're building your investor pipeline or spreadsheet with all these available tools that you have. Obviously, if you go to LinkedIn and you realize that someone you know is connected to them, that would be quicker than you doing tons and tons of research to try to, but in any case, you also have to prepare yourself for the fact, like I said earlier, like, if 100 of the 100 and or whatever, let's say 90 of the founders who I know aren't ready to raise capital from upfront came to me based on looking on LinkedIn and said, will you introduce me to Kevin? I'm going to say no. And why is that? Is it because I don't like you? No, it's because my relationship with all these investors is based on me introducing high quality deal flow. And so if I don't do that and I send them a bunch of stuff that is not a fit for them, they're going to stop taking my emails and calls. And I don't want that, because I'm trying to help raise capital for dozens and dozens of startups. And so is the rest of our team. So that's the reason why. It's not anything personal. It's basically my decision, because it's my relationship. Just like if this was Martin's first degree connection, you went to Martin, then he would also make the decision on whether or not he would introduce you or not. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. I know it's frustrating, because especially when you go on these platforms and you think you found the perfect investor, and 4 or 5 of your mentors or other connections are connected to them, and they say you're not ready to connect, then you have to make the call. Am I going to go in cold? Which is totally your prerogative. And you should, if you feel like you should do that, you should. Don't listen to me necessarily, but just know that I'm not the one to make the connection. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. So that's an example of how this would work. Does that pretty clear to everybody? Does anyone have any questions on this kind of prospecting for investor connections? Does anyone have an example of an investor that they're trying to get into that they haven't met yet? We could do the same exercise with that VC or angel and see, because I think we should do some examples if you want to see more. If you don't want to see more examples, we can just keep going. But
I have an example I could use, Scott, if you'd like.
Okay.
For LinkedIn, I have the person's name, not necessarily the founder. The gentleman's name is J. Matthew Spector. If you want to look him up on LinkedIn.
Let's start with Crunchbase, and then let's use all our tools. So let's make sure I spell it right. J, right? J-A-Y.
Yeah. Let me give me a sec here. Let me get him up, because I have him on LinkedIn right now.
Okay. You want to throw it in the chat? Throw it in the chat. You throw it in the chat, and then I'll just copy and paste. Okay, cool.
Yeah, sure. Okay. I found the firm name, S Private Inc. S and M here. Let me just type his name in here.
Okay.
SM Private Inc.
Okay. I definitely don't know them, so this is going to be a good one. Let's first start with the firm and just see what comes up. Oops. It's not letting me copy. Hold on, let me copy here. All right. So no results found. Okay. Let's try, to your point. Let's see if they're on, or actually I didn't log into Signal. Hold on. Let me go back to LinkedIn. Sorry. Let's see if the company comes up on, here we go. Okay. So now we're on LinkedIn, to Kevin's point earlier, and there's 3 employees on LinkedIn. They're in Newport Beach. And what we're going to try to figure out is, okay, well, that's pretty close to us for those of us who are on the call who are in Southern California. So let's see who the employees on LinkedIn are. And it looks like this, in my case on LinkedIn, I'm a 2nd degree connection to J. Matthew. And so then we would basically click on here and I have 5 connections that know him. One is Kevin. So Kevin, you already know him. So Kevin, just send your email, send your email out. No, but seriously, that's where all the research comes in, because even though the investor agreed to connect with Kevin online, doesn't mean that Kevin's, and I'm not saying this is the case, but it could be the case that Kevin's startup isn't ready for them because they may invest at a later stage, as an example, but that may not be true. And then in my specific case, I have a few other people here. So this is not someone I'm super connected to. As you saw with the other example, there were like 95 people that we both knew in common. So that's a little bit easier one if you get that, to make that warm connection than only having 5. And you may have that situation where you only have one person that is connected that can help you connect. And hopefully that person will help you connect with that investor. So, and I will just, while we're here, just send him a connection request since I don't know him. Let's see. So that would be the process. We would also want to figure out, let's see, we'd also want to, well, it didn't come up in Crunchbase. So we probably could find their website though, or whatever. But again, we want to find, let's see if they have a website listed. Visit website. Okay. So this is their website. And so here we go. Industries about, so this is the kind of stuff, again, this is just a detective job, figuring out, okay, well, let's see what industries they invest in. Okay. Real estate, technology is a little bit broad. Cannabis, energy, consumer goods, hospitality. Okay. That's pretty broad. And one thing you'll also find is that, again, this isn't a good example because they didn't show up in, at least as we spelled it, it didn't show up in Crunchbase. But let's just say you go to Crunchbase and they say they invest in all of these things, all these verticals. But let's say that all of their investments are only in real estate and cannabis, and they haven't done any investing in consumer goods in the last 2 or 3 years. Probably not someone you're going to want to target, right? Because it's probably going to be a waste of time, because by the time you get into them, for them just to tell you, well, we haven't made a consumer goods investment in 2 years and we don't know if we will, you could be better served finding other investors on your list who do invest in consumer goods by doing all this detective work that we're doing here. So I'm sure that makes sense to everybody. And again, this happens a lot where it's happened to a number of VCs here in Southern California where they'll change their focus. And unless you've done the research, you're not going to necessarily know that, because to our point earlier, they may have a non-updated website, or one of the partners that did that, let's say their partner who invested in energy left and went to another VC firm, then maybe they don't do energy investing anymore. So again, that's why it's so much work on every single one of these that's on your investor list, right? That's why it's a lot of work to keep up with this. So, you're not only figuring out what these funds do, but you're also figuring out what the specific people within these funds who you need to contact and reach out to, what they're interested in. And of course, the investors, whether it's an angel or a VC, they're going to appreciate that you did all this homework. And again, you're not spamming them with something that has no relation or help for them. So I'm going to go back to the deck for a second, and we're going to talk about. Okay, so does everybody understand the tools you can use to build out your spreadsheet? Are there any questions on the tools, or anyone have any questions about their specific? And we can also do specific examples with each of the verticals you put in the chat after we go through the rest of the stuff. Or if you have a mentor on our team or a mentor with another program, you can work with that mentor to have them kind of, work with you going through some examples of building out your investor pipeline. Any case. Okay, cool. So no questions on that. So we'll go to the next one. This was just an example of what Signal looks like. So now we get to let's just hope it's warm email intro, right? But it could be cold, as we said a minute ago. So let's just assume it's warm. And let's assume that, let's take Kevin's example. Or actually let's take, let's see. Is it Babak? am I pronouncing that correctly? Martin?
Babak?
Yeah, it is good. Thank you.
Babak, okay. So let's take Babak's example of med tech, med device, life science. So in this case, he saw when he went on LinkedIn that I was connected to Kevin with Upfront. So, and he's going to do the homework to know that Upfront invests at his stage of where his company is, and he has enough traction and blah. So anyway, he's going to send, let's say, me or someone else on that list an email. This is an example of the kind of email that you're going to want to send. And again, this is also a great example from our friends at Techstars, but there are dozens of examples of warm and cold email intros for investors. Just Google it online and you'll come up with a lot of great examples. This is just one of them. I didn't want to put dozens on there when you can obviously, I think, obviously all of us know how to use Google and the internet. So, but this is a good example because it's showing you a couple key things of things you want to talk about. So, as you may recall, blah, 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 da, 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 we're in the Epic SBDC program, which is our program we talked about. We met, da, da, da. So then you do a little spiel on your company. And then you talk a little bit about a couple of your metrics. And you're now, let's just say that Babak's raising a $1 million seed round as an example. I don't know what it is. Let's say it's $1 million. You put that in there. Anyway, and it's just basically, you're trying to convince me or another one of your mentors or one of your advisors or anyone who knows this contact you're trying to connect with to make a warm intro for you. And so you send this email out. Now, this example is when you're sending it to a warm intro. You still, if I was actively mentoring you, then I would already have your pitch deck and your executive summary. But let's say I wasn't. Let's say that I had never met you and you were being mentored by Martin, but Martin didn't know the investor you're trying to connect with, and I do. So you're going to send me and you're going to say, in your program, working with Martin Kleckner, blah, blah, blah. And then you're going to say, here's attaches, after you put this little intro in, you're going to say attaches my executive summary and pitch deck. Or if you don't have an executive summary, attaches my latest pitch deck. Let me know what you think. Can you help me? And then your warm intro person may or may not respond depending on how busy they are. I obviously don't respond I get literally dozens every week of requests for investor intros, and I can't obviously respond to everybody, but certainly the startups that we're mentoring, I respond to, not always as quickly as they would like, but as quickly as I can. But in any case, so this is what you do. Then another example would be, let's say you are a deep tech company that's in ag tech. And, oh wait, we got another question here. Let's see. Yeah, that's a good question. I would definitely send to their email. Don't send to the end. Well, okay. Again, I want to be careful saying do and don't, because if all you can get is the info@vc.com, then you decide that's better than nothing. Probably that would be considered a cold email. But what we're talking about are, I am going to directly introduce you to, or Martin or one of your other mentors or advisors is going to directly introduce you to the investor with your pitch deck attached, or your executive summary and pitch deck attached. That's what we're talking about in this example. So yeah, you're right. But you wouldn't be sending this. We wouldn't be sending this to an info at or a contact at, because if we're making the warm introduction, then we are connected with that person. Now, one of the problems with LinkedIn is that some people on LinkedIn have a very weak network. So they may look great on LinkedIn, but they may just be connected to a bunch of people who they don't know well enough to make an introduction like this. So you also have to figure out, let's say that on that, I hate to keep using only one VC. We should probably, let's do another one. Let's start using Craft Ventures as an example. Our friends at Craft, and Mike, who's actually going to be speaking in a couple of weeks. Actually, Martin, can you, if you can find that link to the talk that Mike from Craft is doing in the coming weeks, and throw it in the chat so everyone has it, that'd be good. Because everyone on this should definitely go to that event. But in any case, let's say,
absolutely.
Let's say that it's, I'm just gonna use another example here from the list. They don't really do life sciences, Helen, so I'm not going to use you as an example, but okay. So Karen, I'm going to use your map tech as an example, because I know since we've been mentoring you, I know you're B2B SaaS, and that is what they do. Craft is like one of the best B2B SaaS investors in the country, or if not the world. So anyway, excellent VC firm. We really like that group. But in any case, so let's say that you went and did the same info, and it showed that I was connected or Martin was connected to Mike. Now, in that case, it'd be the same process we just talked about. You put together your email, you would put together the materials that you have, and then Martin and me, Martin and I should say, would either connect you or not, basically. But let's say that Martin and I think you're too early and you're not ready to meet Craft, then you would just have to go down your list of people that are connected that can help get you an introduction, and make that happen through that list. Or you may decide, hey, no one's going to introduce me with a warm intro, but I know I'm ready to meet Craft Ventures or Upfront or any of the other examples. Or let's just talk about some angel groups: Pasadena Angels, Tech Coast Angels, individual angel, that you may have seen speak at some type of Zoom event. I know they're ready and no one's going to introduce me that's in my network. So I am going to do a cold email. Same process though. You still need to do the research. You still need to make sure that they invest at your stage, because again, they may be like an amazing investor for you 2 years from now, but they may not be a great investor for you where you are right now. So that's something else to factor in, which we've already talked about. So another example of an email to an investor would be for a deep tech startup. Go ahead, Kevin.
I just had a question. Is there any reason, like, if you're not ready to engage with the investors, or you're not ready as you outlined, if you don't meet those requirements, is there any reason why you should be contacting investors early on before you get to that point, maybe 6 months in advance before you get to that point of having the requirements that you listed earlier? Is there any reason why we should be contacting investors before that?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you can start building a relationship early, then you should do that. I can just say that, like, let's say that you're raising an angel round and you wanted to reach out to some famous VC that let's just use Sequoia, which is another phenomenal VC up in the Bay Area, and of course they're global. But I don't know. I mean, the chances of you getting someone to give you a warm intro to Sequoia, let's say that Sequoia only invested in your vertical at Series A, maybe someone's going to do it. I personally wouldn't, because these investors see thousands of deals a year, if not a month, in some cases of some of these bigger VCs. So I don't know. I mean, but if you meet someone, then, and we're going to get to that in just a second. Yes, definitely. You need to build your own and use whatever tool you want. But yes, you definitely want to build an email list of investors who know who you are. And I recommend sending out, again, monthly is hard because you've got a lot going on, but at least a quarterly email that talks about your traction points. So this slide here, this can be one of two things. This could be your warm or cold email intro, or this could also be an update slide that you send to your investor list that you're starting to build. Because as you start building your spreadsheet we're talking about, you're also going to be building your investor contact list. And again, use whatever tool you want, whether it's MailChimp, ActiveCampaign, HubSpot. I mean, again, it doesn't matter to us as long as it's something that you know how to use and you are good at using. And then you're going to want to send out an email blast to, let's say that this month you have 1 investor on the list. Let's say in 6 months, you've got 14 investors on the list. Let's say you've raised your angel round and now you're going out for your institutional, your seed round, and you might have 40 investors on the list. You want to keep the investors updated with what's going on with you, because you never know, like this is just a made up update, but let's just say that this is your update from, this is an ag tech company. So let's say that they'll say that this is an update that, 10 of the 15 investors on your list hadn't seen. Well, maybe when, again, like I should stop using specific examples of investors, but in any case, let's say ag tech investor A sees, wait a second, you guys got a paid trial with Big Agco in 2021. Whoa, I didn't know that. I didn't know you were that far along. I thought all you had was an MVP you cobbled together in your basement or whatever, or your garage. So then they may want to talk to you when 6 months ago they didn't want to talk to you. So it's all about, again, to Kevin's point, yes, you want to build relationships, but do you want to spend a bunch of time going after the top of the top investors if you have no traction? Probably not, right? It's just going to be a waste of your time at a certain point. So I don't know if that answers that, but that's basically the answer to that. Okay, yeah, Martin, thanks. So you got the event list in there as well. I recommend that you all check that out. Oh, the other thing before I forget, I want to just mention is that we have pitch practice coming up tomorrow and Thursday. Today's Tuesday, right, Martin? So tomorrow and Thursday, we have pitch practice. Every single startup that applied to Riverside Angel Summit, I would highly recommend you come to pitch practice because, again, we're in the middle of cut downs right now. We're cutting down down to 24 from all the startups that applied. It's a rather large cut down. And those startups that we don't know and that have attended none of these events and have put in, let's just call it a suboptimal application into Gust, they're getting cut right away. So, and it could be the most amazing startup in the entire region. But if you don't take the time to come to these events, meet our mentors and our entrepreneurs in residence, and start to get to know some of the angel investors in the region, which is why this whole program exists, then no one's going to know who you are. So it's going to be easy to cut you. Also, by the way, sorry to go off on a tangent here, but since we have a number of folks who are going to see this, who are seeing this now, and who are going to see this on YouTube before the cuts happen on October 1st, a number of you put in basically applications for Riverside Angel Summit with no pitch deck, no information, no executive summary, literally almost nothing. You're going to get cut right away unless you go update that. And so just so you know, I think there was some confusion. You can update in real time until we move to the next round, anything new that you have for your startup. So if you have a pitch deck that's new and better based on, let's say you went to Bill Waldo's pitch deck, had a pitch workshop yesterday, then upload that new pitch deck or that updated pitch deck. Or let's say you work with one of your advisors or mentors or friends on your pitch deck and it's much better than it was when you applied, whenever it was 2 weeks ago. Update the new info on Gust, please, because decisions are being made now. And as I said, between now and wait, I got to look at a calendar. Is next Friday, October 1st, Martin, or is it? I can't remember when it is.
Next Friday is October the 1st. So that's when we make our decisions for the final 24.
Yeah. So a whole lot of startups that are, that have applied to Riverside Angel Summit are getting cut between now and next Friday. So it behooves you to participate in this stuff and put your best materials forward on Gust. So anyway, just an aside there for all of you. And let me go back over here. Where is the link to participate? I guess Kevin is asking about the link to participate in the pitch practice. That is on that link that Martin just sent. If you go to Riverside, some of you are just listening to this and don't see it on your screen, but it's riversideangelsummit.com/events. Go there. Not just the pitch practices are on there, actually, and there are other events we're going to be putting on there. That Martin's actually in the process of updating with a couple of events that aren't on there, that are new events that are going to be happening in terms of workshops and some updated things. But in general, for this week, this is the last workshop. Again, there's SBIR conference workshops, which Martin already talked about. But for Riverside Angel Summit, this is the last workshop. But the pitch practices will be again tomorrow. Martin, are they 11:30 to 1:30? Do I have that right?
They are indeed 11:30 to 1:30, both of them next week and this week, excuse me, in the following week. So Kevin, that link that we just put up, just click on that and then go down to the pitch practice and you can register right there.
Let's just go to it so we don't have any confusion. Whoops. Let's get rid of Signal here. I have so many windows open here on the screen. It's getting a little crazy. So you would just basically go to the main website, which is Riverside Angel Summit. And then hold on, I've got to move some windows here so I can see the screen. And then you click events and scroll down, and we would have, this is what we're doing right now. Or sorry, this is what we're doing right now. It is the 21st. I'm losing track of the days. We've got so much going on. Anyway, this is what we're talking about here. So I don't know if that, I think maybe what Kevin's saying is, I don't know if we've updated, is that link been updated? I think the link was not on there last night, Bart. I don't know if our web development team has had a chance to put that link on there. Let's just check. So maybe the link's not, the link's not on there yet.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Right.
Okay, let me grab it. And we need to get that website updated. That was on our to-do list. I guess the team didn't have time to do it last night. So in any case, that will be updated. Also, let me just grab it now. So that is our fun Zoom system here. So that's just a meeting so the idea there is that it's this one right here. So let me throw that in the chat. Let's see, copy invitation. So this is the link for you I'll put it in the chat now. For those of you that don't see the chat, if you weren't on this, you're just gonna have to, if you see this after the fact and you weren't on live with the rest of the startups, then you're just gonna have to connect with one of us, or hopefully our website will be fixed by the time you see this video. But anyway, that's the link. So the idea there is that we're gonna actually practice pitches. Now, I've heard from some founders are not wanting to pitch in front of a group, which is fine. What we're going to do is we're going to have a group of mentors and EIRs that are at this event. We're going to be able to do breakout rooms, obviously not an infinite amount. I mean, if we have 10 startups show and all want to do breakout rooms, we're not going to have 10 mentors there, but we'll be able to do some breakout rooms to do one-on-one pitches and feedback if you don't want to pitch in front of the group. But I'd recommend pitching in front of the group because you're going to be needing to learn how to do that anyway. But again, if you are in a case where you just can't pitch in front of the group yet, then we can do a breakout session out of this session tomorrow from 11:30 to 1:30, and on Thursday, the same thing. Obviously, if you've already done your pitch practice, you don't need to stay on. If you don't want to hear other people's pitches, you may want to see some other people's decks and how strong they are compared to you, though, because it may give you a sense of how much work you need to do between now and the cuts next Friday to compete and be one of those 24 that's selected. So I'd recommend coming to the pitch practices and seeing what your competition is doing. Obviously, there's some extremely strong startups with extremely strong decks that are going to be, and they actually probably won't be coming to the pitch practice, but in any case, maybe they will. So that's that. So
I just wanted to add also, if I could, Scott, because yesterday we had gotten the impression that several were a little concerned about, well, gee, if I look bad during a practice pitch, is that going to harm me in any way? And the answer is no. It is not designed to be that way. This is supposed to be a safe environment comprised of mentors, advisors, and EIRs, not the investors. So it really is a good opportunity for you to come, and even if you do stub your toe, you're not in trouble. It's just simply an opportunity for you to refine and enhance your presentation. So when you are presenting to the investors, you'll be much better prepared.
Yeah, that's a great point. And by the way, our community here in Inland SoCal needs to do a better job of all meeting each other. We have a lot of founders, and I've been working on this for 5 years, trying to get everyone to know each other, and it's still an uphill battle. We have a lot of founders who don't know each other, and I guess we got a number of people dropping off at 1 o'clock, which is totally fine. You don't need to stay on if you don't want to, but if we can continue on with questions. We can do other specific things like more examples of building out your investor pipeline if you want, or we can stop early if there are no more questions. But oh, thanks. Kelvin said, just want to say thank you. Kelvin said, just want to say thank you for an informative session. I can't recall a more constructive online seminar. Well, thanks, Kelvin. That's nice of you to say. I don't even know if I know you, but that's I promise I didn't give him any kind of cash compensation to say that. But anyway, thanks. Thanks, Karen, and everyone. Yeah, thanks for everyone who is jumping off. Any case, I think we've covered the basics of what we wanted to cover. We do have a little more time. If anyone wants to dive into stuff, we can also stop recording. If you want to ask questions that you don't want to have recorded, we can do that as well. So let's just see what we got here. Babak's wants to meet Kevin from up front. I'm not surprised about that. I think most founders would. Kevin's an awesome guy. Helen's updating the pitch deck today. Great news. Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, I mean, it's up to you guys and gals, or I should say, I don't know what the right term is, folks on who are still on. If you have any specific questions, we can go over them. Otherwise, we can end early. Oh, here we go. Here's another one. Does a summit include Northern California startups? Not this year. So this year, it's only focused on startups that have some type of connection to Inland Empire, Inland Southern California. So for example, it could be someone who has an office in Ontario, California, or Palm Desert, California, or maybe they graduated from Cal State San Bernardino or Cal Baptist or UCR, and they're building their company. So yeah, there needs to be some connection to the region. That is what the investors wanted to see. So yeah, unfortunately, we couldn't take applications from folks who were outside of our region this year. Maybe that will change as this project grows, but maybe not. We'll have to see for next year. But for this year, it is Inland Empire, Inland Southern California connections only. So that's to answer that question. Anyway, I think everyone gets a pretty good idea of what to do here. I'm going to go back just to this kind of this slide, which is here, because I think that this is one that, you know, again, as you build out your own investor spreadsheet / pipeline, whether you use Excel or you use one of those tools you pay for online, however you want to do it, it's obviously up to what you want to do. Obviously, I'd recommend spending as much of your money as you possibly can on getting traction, which could mean building out your product, or it could mean testing, customer acquisition ideas you have, et cetera, because that's all stuff that will be more important than paying for a fancy CRM or whatever. But in any case, some of you may want to use a fancy CRM. So more power to you on that. And then the other thing I want to just go back to is see if there's any questions on is your startup ready to raise equity capital? We can also talk a little bit about that. But if there are no more questions, we can also wrap up. So let's just give a few more minutes to see if there's any other questions. I guess not. Martin, do you have any questions or comments or anything else you want to add?
The only comments that I am thinking of saying right now is I really strongly encourage all of you to join us on all of the workshops. Take a look at the events link that Scott and I provided you during the course of this symposium today. Take a look at the other workshops. Really valuable and insightful ones forthcoming, including angel and VC investors. So strongly encourage you to join us, all of those. If you don't participate, it's probably not going to tag you too much, but it really will be much helpful to your cause, frankly, in terms of content of your presentation, if you join us during these workshops. So please look into all of those that Scott is scrolling through right now. And we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow or Thursday for starters.
And Kevin just threw a question in. What is the order of the presentation for tomorrow and Thursday's pitch practices? We don't have an order because we're not exactly sure how it's going to go down. Like I said, there's going to be some startups that just want to come and pitch and then they're going to leave. There's some startups that want to stay and hear other folks pitch. And then there's also some that only want to pitch one-on-one, and we'll try to do breakout sessions obviously, like I said, we can't have everyone do a breakout session because then there's going to be no one in the main group to give pitch feedback. So we're just going to kind of see how it flows. If it completely does not work tomorrow and it's a total cluster, then obviously for Thursday, we'll revise the way we do it. Maybe, you know, if it doesn't work tomorrow in the way we just talked about, then maybe we'll have to just have whatever 15, 20, 30-minute blocks that everyone just does one-on-one time for Thursday. But let's try to do it, because I really do want the founders to see what other people are doing and see how they pitch, because there are, as I said, there are some amazing founders with amazing pitch decks, and they're really good presenters, and you can learn a lot from just hearing other founders pitch. So anyway, I would encourage you all to show up. It sounds like most of you are, with that link we put in the chat. But yeah, the other two I just wanted to highlight, and Martin already brought it up, but we have some good ones. One is the go-to-market customer discovery on September 28th. Martin, do you want to just say a quick word about that? How important customer discovery is for startups, especially early stage?
Sure. Go-to-market and customer discovery are critical components of Lean Launchpad, which is part of the I-Core program, which was initiated by Steve Blank up at Stanford and Berkeley several years ago, and embraced by the National Science Foundation and then other federal agencies as well. Your instructors are Jay Gilberg and Stephen Sharp. Jay is the instructor for Innovar I-Core at UC Riverside, and Stephen Sharp is one of our premier mentors and instructors on customer discovery. Very important process that I think that they will be able to convey to you. It is also something that angel investors are asking about increasingly. And in fact, I'm thinking about one instructor, professor actually at the Marshall School at University of Southern California, Stephen Mednick. And Steve and I and Bill Waldo, by the way, for those of you who attended his seminar or symposium the other day, have gone through probably 100 deal reviews in our time together. And Steve Mednick always asked three essential questions in various ways. Number one, what is your business model? Number two, how did that business model come about? And number three, what traction have you gained with that business model? How that business model came about is based expressly on go-to-market and customer discovery. And if you can convey to them exactly how you came up with your business model and why you derived that business model in the way that it was, investors will much, much more appreciate what you're presenting to them. So I strongly encourage you to attend this workshop. Really, really valuable next week. Jay and Steve are excellent instructors.
Yeah, that's great. And I'll just say a couple of words about our one with the investors that we mentioned. And this one is going to be, well, they're all going to be good, but this one especially, I'd also recommend you attend, because this is with actual VCs and, well, they're all VCs, I should say. Mike, who I mentioned from Craft, great guy. I believe he's also, I can't remember if he's a UCR alum, or he's definitely connected to our region. He's a super cool guy. Christina, which we call goes by Z. She is amazing, and also she focuses a lot on deep tech startups. So we really enjoy having her see our deal flow. And then Peter Lee, he also is great, and his VC firm is amazing. They also do a lot of deep tech startups. And as I said, we have a big focus on deep tech startups here in the region. We have that DNA here in our region, more so than like a Santa Monica, which would maybe have more consumer-facing app startups or whatever. So that's why we've invited this group to come, and they're going to be talking about how they make decisions on whether to invest or not invest in startups. So again, we got a lot of this content coming up. That, as you can see, it's September and October content before the finals, which are on, as we said, November 4th. And even if you don't, even if you don't make the cut, we still, to the 24th, this coming Friday on the 1st, we recommend that you still attend these and learn, because this is meant to be a learning experience for all the founders and all the startups. And, you know, for next year, what you learn this year may put you in a position where if you're not ready to raise capital this year, you are next year. So looks like we got something else in the Q&A. I assume the pitches are in person or via Zoom. What is the value of in person? Are there mask requirements? Actually, no, it's all virtual as of right now. It's a great question. So the practices are all virtual. The event itself, we're still trying to figure out. We want to have it in person, but we just got some new potential direction that might make that tough as some of the coronavirus situation gets a little bit worse in our region. So we obviously can't look into the future in November and see what's going to be going on. But yes, everything on this list that you see right here in terms of these workshops is all virtual. So that's a great question. The pitch practices are virtual, but as we get into these later events, we were hoping to have this. Let me just scroll down. Sorry to make you dizzy here for scrolling too fast, but you know, this event, the VIP reception with the finalists and the investors on the 3rd, the night of the 3rd, and the actual final pitch event, we are hoping to have in person, but it might have to be virtual. So stay tuned on that, and we'll get you updates as soon as we have them. So
Scott, also, I wanted to mention, if I could, and it probably goes without saying, but you had referenced Mia Thu early on in your slides. And she is the one who had secured in her seed round of $1.4 million. And not that we need to beat this thing to death or tout it too much, but I can assure you, as her mentor and advisor over several years, Mia went through exactly the process that Scott has taught us today, number one. And also, by the way, now Mia is an exceptional presenter. But I can assure you, several years ago, she was anything but that. She went through dozens and dozens and dozens, a myriad of stubbing her toe until she got her presentation right. So if nothing else, her success is evidence of the process that Scott has taught us today, and also that we do need to practice a lot before we become the great presenters that people like Mia are now.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, that's a good way to end it, I think. So thanks everyone for joining, and we look forward to seeing you at the pitch practices this week, as well as some of the events we already talked about. So we're going to sign off. And if you have any other questions, here's contact info. I think pretty much everyone has our contact info, but if not, thanks everyone for joining, and we'll talk soon. So take care. See ya.